On the heels of that, let's bring in Sabrina Siddiqui, national politics reporter for the Wall Street Journal, Shaniqua McClendon, vice president of political strategy at Crooked Media, and former Republican congressman from Florida, Carlos Cabello, now an MSNBC political analyst. Welcome, all three of you. Sabrina, even with Trump losing these rulings, the tariff war is having an impact. India is being pushed away. This weekend, it is cozying up with China. A swath of countries are suspending shipments to the U.S. As a rule, exempting cheaper goods from tariffs expired on Friday. Is the U.S. getting more isolated, and is the Trump administration okay with that?
Well, I think we know that tariffs are really a pillar of President Trump's domestic and foreign policy agenda. And he's been very clear that he believes in an America First platform. So even if the U.S. is becoming more isolated on the global stage, that's not something that this administration has expressed particular concern about. In fact, they see the tariffs as really a show of strength, as Vaughn was saying, designed in part to bring trading partners to the negotiating table. But the key part is who bears the cost of these tariffs and what their impact is, not just in the strategic relationships that the U.S. has around the world, as you pointed out, but also on the U.S. economy. The tariffs have injected a lot of uncertainty into financial markets and the global economy, and then also, of course, raised the prospect of, continued inflation and the prices being borne by U.S. businesses and the U.S. consumer. So while this is all going to be litigated in the courts, I think the big question is who's going to pay for these tariffs and what kind of a role will they play if they remain in effect in next year's midterm elections if Americans are seeing even higher costs because of them.
Good point there. Shaniqua, Trump said if the rulings were allowed to stand, it would, quote, literally destroy the United States of America. Is that an exaggeration? I mean, do people believe these tariffs are truly an emergency?
No, they're not an emergency. I think that Donald Trump and his administration have already taken several steps to lead this country towards its destruction. I've been thinking a lot about this, and I think we're not saying that the quiet part out loud. This country is being run by people who are both dumb and evil, and that is not a good combination. Ultimately, it is going to be consumers who feel the impact of these tariffs. And even though this court decision has come down, removing these tariffs is not going to happen immediately. People's kids are going to start going back to school, and the holiday season is upon us. People are going to feel these prices go up, and congressional Republicans are not doing anything to stop Donald Trump, and they are supposed to have the authority to implement taxes in this country. So if anything is going to destroy this country, it's not going to be that he doesn't have the ability to raise taxes on Americans. It's going to be the fact that he does, or he has, rather.
Carlos, regardless of whether you think the tariffs are the right decision, how much turmoil does it put the economy through? And let's focus on small businesses as well, because when things are so unstable and being challenged in the courts, how do they go about doing business?
Alex, uncertainty is a major cost on the economy. Uncertainty makes prices higher for consumers, ultimately because businesses can't make efficient decisions. And the great irony here is that for so long, the Republican Party has been the party of pro-business, of low taxes. Another complication that I think this court ruling presents for congressional Republicans in particular, who will have to face voters next year, is that the court said explicitly what people like Senator Rand Paul has been saying for some time, that tariffs are taxes, and therefore this is a massive tax hike on the American family, on the American worker. Republicans for decades have been the party of low taxes. Even under Trump 1, the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act was a massive tax cut for most Americans. Now we're getting the opposite, a major tax increase by way of this tariff policy. So uncertainty here for the economy, but also for Republicans trying to run for re-election.
Sabrina, regarding the turmoil at the CDC, you say even before the firings, Health Secretary Robert Kennedy's vaccine skepticism prompted panic. Now being down so much staffing, what state is the CDC in? Are they even able to do the job of protecting the nation's health?
There's no question that the CDC is facing a significant crisis. Some of the employees that I've spoken to in my reporting say that this is one of the most vulnerable moments for the agency since the COVID-19 pandemic, when they also weathered a significant amount of political attacks. The public health experts that I've spoken to have expressed concern that really what the firing of the CDC director was about was cracking down on any form of dissent or anyone who was going to challenge HHS Secretary Robert Kennedy Jr.'s anti-vaccine agenda. And, this is coming at a time when Americans are about to go get their COVID shots, their flu shots. There's a lot of concern over respiratory illnesses in the fall. So the timing of this kind of confusion and this kind of uncertainty, the public health experts say, couldn't really be worse. And the question really becomes, where do we go from here? Because, if it's really going to be political people in the place of the institutional scientists at the CDC, then it's really going to further undermine credibility in the nation's leading health agency, and also, I think, make it very challenging for Americans to truly understand what the science is and whether or not they should get vaccinated.
I'll say people will go get COVID shots if they can, if they're allowed to, if they're in those special groups that are able to get them. We don't know about the others. But Shaniqua, Sabrina's article points out that behind closed doors, Trump continues to lament he can't take more credit for the COVID vaccine. So has he put himself between a rock and a hard place? Doesn't merely wanting to take credit for a vaccine create instant conflict with his health secretary? Does it imply Trump supports the COVID vaccine?
Yeah, it does. I mean, Donald Trump got the COVID vaccine. We know that. We know he's gotten boosters. I'm sure there are many people in his administration who publicly are supporting RFK, who privately got these vaccinations as well. There's one thing that it doesn't matter how much money or power you have, you cannot escape illness. And this decision to make the COVID vaccine less available to more people, it's not going to be good for the country. This is, again, another example of Donald Trump really just wanting to get rid of people who don't agree with him and crushing dissent, but it having these additional impacts on American citizens who did not sign up for any of this. But Donald Trump chose to put someone who does not believe in vaccines in office, or, appoint him. And then you have to look at Senate Republicans as well, many of which who are, upset now and questioning RFK, but they supported him in his confirmation. And so they don't really have a leg to stand on, but now they are feeling the impact of that decision.
So, Carlos, let's pivot to your home state, Alligator Alcatraz. It could be completely empty in just a matter of days as a judge upheld that decision to wind down operations there. So Florida then means it's likely on the hook, right, for more than $200 million that the state spent converting the facility for detainees, in addition to violating human rights. So the question, did it waste resources in your state?
It sure seems like this was a pretty expensive publicity stunt, Alex. There was never any need to do this. It was never a good idea to put any kind of prison out in the Everglades, an environmentally sensitive area, an area, by the way, that Republicans and Democrats have worked together to restore after many years of environmental damage. So this was always a bad idea. It was yet another effort by Governor DeSantis to try to out-Trump Donald Trump, or maybe to get back in Donald Trump's good graces. And now it appears that it's going to cost taxpayers a lot of money to dismantle this prison, or to maintain it as it sits there empty in the middle of the Everglades. This was never necessary. We have plenty of facilities in the state of Florida. We have been processing undocumented immigrants here for decades. Anyone who knows a community knows, right, that this is an immigrant-rich community. So this was never necessary, and now it appears that Florida taxpayers are on the hook.